Welcome back to Monroe Monday, May the 16th. I have with our next guest today, and it's Jordon Hagen. And she is a Tompkinsville City Commissioner. And you've been there, this your second year?
This will be my second year, yep.
And so we're here to talk about a land grant.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll let you put the proper name out there, but we attended a meeting the other day, Terry and I did, and pretty interesting. It's something to do with the city park, and so we'll just let Jordan get started with it.
All right. We're applying for the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant. This conservation fund was set up by Congress in 1964 to protect and safeguard natural areas and resources. It's supposed to also help provide recreational activities for communities and local governments. And part of this is that in this grant, we're supposed to be able to upgrade our park to make it more accessible for people with disabilities, anybody that's maybe a low income or has less resources, or an elderly population. So the deadline is May 31st, and the max amount that you can apply for is $250,000. Of that, we have to cover 50% of that, so $125,000 has to be covered by the city of Tompkinsville if we get approved for this grant. Part of that, a good thing is that we can use in-kind labor, so we can use city employees to do the changes and the upgrades. We can also accept any donations or match anyone that's wanting to participate, such as Beth Thompson of Modern Woodman. She had already agreed to match some funds, and this is something that will take place over the next 2 or 3 years, and so she's agreed next year already to match funds. Part of this grant that is great is that it takes about 3 years to complete everything, and so the city's we're thinking we'll have to cover about $70,000 to $80,000 of cost to do these upgrades. And if we have 3 years to do it, it won't drain the general fund or take much from the
so you're looking at $30,000 or $35,000 a year.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping. So that was something I really liked about this. It wasn't a big slap to our general fund that would hurt the city in any other areas. It was something we could work on slowly and improve the park.
Are you over the park, or is that one of your?
That's one of my departments. Charles Smith is our supervisor. He does a great job. He kind of oversees everything, and every so often he'll call and just give me some ideas or ask me a question, and I'm just like, go for it.
Yeah, because the 200 and something acres, is that right?
I think it's 274 acres is what we guessed about. It's a lot to maintain.
It sure is. And of course, a lot of that is the city lake, which was man-made.
Yeah, and that's a huge part of our park that everybody points out that comes to, especially people that aren't from around here. They always note how we have the lake at our park, and most parks don't have that.
Right. And it's like I was down there the other day, and I actually called the mayor, and I told him about how, a lot of times you get negativity. People will call and say, well, this needs to be done or that needs to be done. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to call and be positive toward it, because when I was down there, there was people everywhere. I mean, they were on the baseball fields, and this was on a Sunday. They were on the baseball fields, basketball. They were using all the shelters. They were down in the camping area. There was kayaks on the lake. Of course, there's probably people fishing. I didn't really notice, but people fishing. I mean, just a lot of stuff going on. And that was a Sunday, and that was a light crowd.
I know, and that's what we want to see. We want to see people be more involved at the park, and just even for our children's health. We want more people to participate in sports. We want more people out camping, hiking, walking, whatever you can do, just to help our community improve our health overall, mental and physical.
Well, I know over the past few years, they have put in the walking trails. Mm-hmm. Of course, like you said, upgraded the camping sites to have utilities on some of them. Some of them are still primitive, but then they have some that you actually can put a camper in and hook into.
Yeah.
And that's really neat. And like I said, the walking trails. Of course, I remember growing up, you had some worn paths is all you had, but now you actually have some gravel type area. Of course, a lot of people say, well, I like to have it blacktop, but I mean, I don't know, I think that would take away from the natural part of the park if you actually blacktop the walkways and stuff. But animals. I mean, squirrels, rabbits, snakes.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
I know Charles was talking about, there was a few snakes there in the park, So, I mean, you have to be cautious when you're in that area or whatever. But give us a little rundown of what might be done
Yeah.
in this grant or what's you're going to try to do.
This is the fun part. Our biggest one is the ADA accessible playground. We really want to have a playground that's accessible to anybody with or without disabilities. We're looking at getting that pour in place rubber flooring for the playground area. For kids fall off a slide, a swing, whatever it is, it won't hurt so bad to hit the ground or the chipped area.
Now you're talking about the plastic chips, or you
It's
talking
kind of like a rubber.
Yeah, it's a rubber chip.
Yeah,
It's made out of tires.
Yeah, and I think they kind of melt something in it, and it makes like a stay in place area, kind of a soft mat there for them to fall on. And so we've been looking at playground equipment that is ADA accessible. And so that's the biggest part of this grant, that what we're applying for to change. Some of the other things in that area over there is new concession stands. We have a lot of traveling t-ball, baseball, softball teams that come in the summertime, and I mean there's hundreds of people there sometimes on the weekends. We want the concession stands to be accessible and usable so that the teams can generate a little bit of money to help support expenses with traveling and kids' uniforms. They pay insurance. There's a lot of expenses that go into that. We want to promote it, not hinder people from using the park.
Because we have a scoreboard up there now.
Yeah, that's a new thing that was put in last year, and that was, with the help with a few local people here, we've got that done, and that was a big process. It took a couple of months, but it looks a lot better.
Yeah. So what's some other things that are working on?
We're looking at adding some more ADA accessible, toilets, urinals, everything to the bathrooms. We're wanting to renovate those and make them a little snazzier. We're looking at stabilizing any of the gravel roads, not through the woods, but any other of the roads that are gravel. We're thinking about, we really wanted to get them chipped, but it's kind of hard to find someone to do that right now. We're still waiting on that improvement to finalize that. We want to stabilize any gravel roads. We're looking at a new first aid station, and so with that, it'll have a hygiene station and a first aid station. If you need wipes, Germex type hand sanitizer, any kind of last minute things you might need if somebody falls and gets hurt, we're hoping to have an area where you can go there and take care of that.
Is that just one place, or kind of like maybe having two or three?
We just have one of those put into the budget right now. It really wasn't a huge expense, so we wouldn't mind maybe adding a second one, one on each side of the park. But we're looking at putting that over there near the ball fields and the playground. We've also got in our grant, we were looking for an upgrade to the volleyball courts. That's something that anybody can play at any age. We're looking at just putting a new official volleyball net up. We're looking at some ADA accessible picnic tables. That was a big one. I honestly didn't realize there were ADA accessible picnic tables. We learned a lot in this process of researching how to make everything more accessible. So we're looking at about 16 new picnic tables, 2 of those at least being the larger ADA accessible, where someone that was in a wheelchair could roll up to it if they wanted to. So we would put those throughout the park.
All right. We have tennis courts down there, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And are they, trying to use the word, when they redone them, they were fixed for so they could have what's the word I'm looking for, Terry?
Practice?
No, not practice. Where people come together and have a competition.
Yeah.
I mean, it's official that you could have a competition down there.
Yeah.
You know.
That was one that a few people had mentioned. We should look into the tennis courts. And so, a good thing about this grant, it's not due, like I said, until May 31st, but we still have about a week where we could add, maybe change a few things. And, the tennis courts is something that a few people has brought up to me that we could upgrade some.
A little bit more.
Yeah.
All right, let's take another break, and we'll be right back with more Monroe Monday. Welcome back to Monroe Monday. We have with us Jordon Hagen, Tompkinsville City Commissioner. There's 4 city commissioners. Is that right?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And then the mayor. Just right quickly, what made you decide to run for city commissioner?
Oh gosh. Really just had a few people in town ask me if I'd be interested. And I'll be honest, I did not know what it entailed. I thought we were looking at budgets and approving financial statements, and I went to Western for accounting and economics, so I thought, oh yeah, look at a budget, that'd be okay. I didn't realize it was that we made so many decisions in the county or in the city here, and yeah, it's definitely been a learning experience. I've met a lot of really good people though in the process and learned a lot.
That's good. That's
Mm-hmm.
good. So we're talking about the land and water conservation grant, and that's through the Brad Group,
Mm-hmm.
Barren River Area Development District, and of course they help with the grant writing and everything. And of course we're talking about doing this at the city park. As Jordon said, a lot of accessibility to be changed in the bathrooms and the playgrounds, just everywhere. What are some other things that you're looking into?
We're looking into adding some piers and a boat ramp. You know, I'd heard from people in the past that there was a pier that went out. Is that?
Yeah, some of us older people.
Yeah. I didn't want to say it.
But yeah, if you remember, there was a pier down there at below the Lakeview shelter. It was made like in basically a U or a square. You know, you walk down on one side and you can walk to the other side and come back up. You know, but it was there for several years. Some people fished off of it. Mostly just kids would just run out on it and run around. And of course, it was on a flotation device, so it'd go up and down with the lake.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it was there for several years. You know, that was just a neat little thing. You know, let's go down to the dock. You know,
Yeah.
it wasn't really a boat dock, but it was a dock. You know, but so I don't know if it's just deteriorated or got tore up, but they took it out several years ago.
Yeah, that was something I honestly don't remember that. So I hate that I didn't get to see that.
You're just a young pup.
Thank you. So we're really excited now that I've heard you all talk about that, where it was a U shape. I hadn't even thought of that before. We were just kind of thinking of a straight pier, but then now that you mentioned that, I mean, that would be great, you know, for people to do their activities on, and they could walk out and walk around. So that's one of the other really large expenses in this grant, but we thought would be something that people would be excited about.
Okay. Anything else?
The only other thing really is that we have some stuff for the guys that take care of the park. We have a great crew out there, and as you said earlier, it seems like we do hear a lot of the negative side of things. We hear, you know, what needs to be done more, what needs to be changed. But if I could, I don't know how many times I could say it, they work so hard, and there's a lot to upkeep out there at the park. And something that they could really use would be an updated maintenance building. If you drive out there and you see the cabin, and then you see it's like a little barn, but
that's all it is.
it's
a
a
little
little
barn.
bitty barn, and they do the best they can with what they have. But these guys could really use something a little more, you know, larger, cleaner, newer. That can help them keep things organized. They can store more under there and keep it from getting rained on, everything. So that was a huge need.
Well, like you said, there's a lot of mowing to do,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, if a storm comes through, there's a lot of limbs to
Yes.
go through and pick up. I mean, you know, they could leave them laying there, but it'd finally just get growed up and
Yeah.
you know, trashy looking. So,
Yeah.
you know, you know, you have to give them time. A lot of times when like you know, you got trees down or whatever, you know, and they have to weed out some trees sometimes due to,
Yeah.
you know, if they're going to fall or whatever. So.
Yeah, and the weather makes it a little challenging too. You know, if it rains for a week or two straight, it's hard. You can't mow, you can't weed it, you can't get out there hardly. So you know, there's a lot of limitations that we have to consider whenever we think about all the things that they take care of there at the park.
Yeah, and of course that's where we get our drinking water from.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one reason that we can't have swimming in the city park.
That's
the
what I've
reason?
heard. Yeah, and anything with the motor is not supposed to be on the park. So you can kayak. That's something, you know, I would encourage. I love doing that before in the past at the park. But anything with the motor is not supposed to be used since it's our drinking water source.
Right. And of course, like you said, that's man-made. I'm not sure when that was implemented. I think maybe in the 70s or
Yeah.
something like that. So,
Yeah.
you know, anything that the city else the city might be working on right now?
There's always something. It's just a work in progress, always. We're just trying to improve it and get everything straightened up and do what's right for the community. We are always looking into grants. I know the police department is always looking at grants. You know, they're on the ball with that. We have got some new equipment to help find leaks, water leaks. That's a huge one here lately that I know that Amy's working really hard on that with her department. And yeah, it's always a work in progress.
Yeah, you know, a few years ago when the previous mayor was in, we had talked about the water situation, and you know, of course, they look at how much water is going through the water plant, than how much is actually paid for.
Right.
So then you kind of you can get a percentage of how much water is being lost.
Exactly.
And you know that number was pretty astronomical when he first went in, and then you know they started finding leaks, started fixing those, and started bringing that number down. So I mean you've got to allow a certain percentage of loss, but you know our, as well as I know, you know, our infrastructure is weakened, and when you fix one spot, it breaks another spot.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
Yes, that's true. And I don't know much about the water department and everything, but I hear this at the meetings, you know, try to pick up on what they're talking about. And our loss was excessively high. But, you know, being a small town, a small community, it is challenging to get the funds to buy the newer equipment.
Right.
Nowadays, and there's everything from airplanes that can fly over the city and pinpoint areas. They can detect areas where there's major water loss. There's little handheld equipment. I mean, these things are $20,000-$40,000 if you're lucky.
Right.
And so that's just something as a small community we hadn't really been able to afford. But we're looking into a lot of programs that helps us kind of get more up to date. You know, be able to pick up on these things.
I know a lot of times when I'm driving around town, if I see what I call a potential water leak, sometimes you might see water in the road, you know, and I think, well, did it rain the past day or two or whatever?
Right.
You know, it could be a leak and it's, you know, eventually bubbled up onto the blacktop or on the side of the road or whatever, you know, and I'll make a phone call and say you might want to check it out. And 9 times out of 10, it's being dug up the next day because it is a leak, you know. So that's, you know, that helps the city, you know. And if you do find you think there might be a potential leak somewhere, you know, don't hesitate to call.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, honestly, everybody that I've talked to and worked with at City Hall has been pretty agreeable. We want to fix everything. We want the problems fixed. We want the city to look good and people to be happy. But I think a lot of it is just being patient with us. Maybe we do need to be reminded once or twice that there's a leak or something needs to be changed. A lot of it is just there might be something larger that's ahead in the line that we have to do today or this week. And I really appreciate when people are kind and they're patient with us on making these changes.
Yeah, you know, so of course, like you said, we have 4 commissioners, and each one of them is over different departments in the city. Of course, we have the mayor, and they have a meeting every.
It's the 4th Thursday of every month.
Yeah, 4th Thursday, unless a holiday or something, or they have a special meeting. Sometimes they have to have special meetings to get things approved and all that. Now, like this grant, you said you had to have it in by May 31st. Is that right?
And I'm hoping to have all the final changes done this week. I'm hoping that the girl that's helping me can review everything next week, and then we can have it submitted, and then that'll give us time for any last minute things that we can change. We feel like our odds are good, you know, at getting this. You know, there's no definite yes or no or maybes, but I think we have a chance.
$250,000 is the max, and you said right now you're looking at $220 right now?
We have hit about $220 is what we budgeted so far, so we don't have much wiggle room, but we do want to look into a few more things that we can add to that if we need to, you know, to help the park.
And the lady that was at the meeting says once you get it submitted and it goes through all the red tape and everything, that you'll have a definite by January.
I think it was January.
You know, that seems like a long time, but you know, a lot of people don't understand the process that goes through, because you know they've got to jump through hoops, and then once Brad gets it, then they've got to jump through hoops to get this money, get it all approved, and and get it all documented.
Right.
And you just don't get approved one day and you start work the next day most of the time.
Unfortunately, you don't, especially with the government. As we all know, it takes a couple years to get anything really done. But I think she said by October there was some kind of checkpoint in October, but like you said, we wouldn't get a true answer until January, and the funds wouldn't come through until probably next July, maybe. That would be kind of an early guess, but a lot of this work wouldn't be done for another year and a half, and we have 3 years to finish it from the acceptance date.
Yeah.
So I know I had some people message about getting it to be more accessible, the park, in October of last year, and I hope they know we heard them. It's going to take a while, but we're
Right.
working on it.
All right, Jordan, we appreciate you doing everything you can for Tompkinsville. And of course, you grew up here,
I did.
and your parents are.
John and Crystal Hagen.
So go down and check out Monroe Feeding Farm and
Yeah, and Hagen and Stone wholesale.
Hagen and Stone, and your mother is a dentist, right?
Yeah, Dr. Crystal Hagen. I feel very blessed. I have great parents. They're supportive. They work hard. We all want to see the community grow and be a better place together.
And what's your public job?
I work at Hagen and Stone. I do a little bit of whatever they need me to. So it can be sales, insurance, accounting, and the same's for Monroe Feed and Farm. My dad runs that store, so I kind of just help him with whatever he needs. Whatever they
So
need.
you're the brains of the
Oh
operation.
no, I won't say that, but yeah, they call me, sometimes they'll say mini boss or something. I'm like, oh no, don't do that.
All right, that's all the time we have for today. And if you have any ideas for the city that you might want to have them look into, just give them a call. They'll see what they can do, see if there can be any grants available or whatever. So I hope everyone has a great day. Encore presentation tonight at 6 o'clock. Of course, watch the Monroe page on Facebook for the video. And hope everyone has a great day and enjoy.